right there, folks. Dan here with CLV Boost, and in this brief CLV Boost tutorial, we're going to be covering a topic that is near and dear to me, which is how to sell more memberships and subscriptions without spending more on advertising. So memberships and subscriptions is certainly my cup of tea. We generally emphasize that any of our e-commerce clients who we work with in the CLV Boost realm go with some kind of a ongoing recurring based income program in order to supplement and add stability to whatever other offerings they have. And we also run our own business outside of CLV Boost in the e-commerce domain, which is closing the gap on $200,000 a month in recurring memberships, basically selling subscriptions in the self-defense and fitness space, which are some markets that I've been in for the last 2 or 3 years. So with that being said, this is definitely a domain of focus when it comes to email marketing and segmentation. And by the end of this video, you're going to have the most common strategy to be implemented first across the board, both between my own businesses and with anybody that we work with here at CLV Boost. So the number one database marketing and email marketing strategy to be used to sell more memberships and more subscription programs. Here's essentially how it breaks down and how we like to do it. Basically, you could sell more memberships, and many people do, by driving more traffic to your existing converting subscription or membership-based program. Nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's difficult to scale paid advertising. If you're using Google or Facebook, getting past a certain amount of spend per day while maintaining ROI becomes increasingly difficult, and is certainly an art form. It's not always possible, frankly, and sometimes generating affiliate traffic to that volume doesn't work out so well either. I always recommend as much volume in the front end as possible, but it is very useful to be able to consistently sell subscriptions yourself, even without leveraging more paid advertising, even without leveraging affiliates. Of course, you should keep your front-end traffic coming, but being able to sell them yourself week over week, adding more and more people to be billed every month in your e-commerce platform, shucks, that's a lot of power and stability that you can hold in your own business. And that's the strategy that we'll be talking about today. So we're going to talk about the 4 steps of pulling this off. And I'm going to use an analogy throughout this particular example of a business called Sports Illustrated. Some of you may have heard of Sports Illustrated. They are a billion-dollar business. They sell subscriptions. So Sports Illustrated sells subscriptions to their magazine. Now, the bulk of their money, to my knowledge, more than 50%, comes from advertising inside of their subscriptions, but they're making hundreds of millions of dollars based on people being auto-shipped Sports Illustrated magazines to their door, or getting subscriptions on their iPad, or whatever the case may be. And they have a very unique strategy of selling memberships compared to what most of the internet marketing and even e-commerce world does, which is creating different, unique front-end offers. What do I mean by that? Before I go into these 4 steps, I'm going to use them as the analogy, and then we're going to apply this to your business lickety-split. So first, what do I mean by that? Creating multiple unique front-end offers. If your team, so if you want to go to sportsillustrated.com and buy a subscription for whatever it is, $6.99 a month, $4.99 a month, I have no idea what their subscriptions cost these days, but if you want to go on their website and just buy a subscription, you can. You probably can. But a lot of the time, they're going to vary up their subscription offer with other offers and bundles, okay? So you can also buy a hat with your favorite team. Let's say you like the Chicago Bears. You can buy a Chicago Bears hat for $25 and get 3 months free of Sports Illustrated along with it. You can get a plaque, like if your team wins a Super Bowl. Let's say you like the Patriots or something. If your team wins the Super Bowl, you can get a Patriots plaque for $99 that's like big and fancy and has all these colorful pictures and commemorates their winning of the Super Bowl. And then that will also come along with 3 months free of Sports Illustrated. Or you can potentially get a football phone. So you can get a phone shaped like a football, literally, with 1 month free of Sports Illustrated. So they have multiple different unique front-end offers that appeal to different segments of their general market crowd, whether it be what teams these people like, whether it be whether they're apparel people or equipment people or whatever their preferences for products, they appeal to different segments of their list with subscription-based offers. These are offers that include their subscription and are not their subscription in and of themselves. These are premium-driven front-end offers appealing to different market segments. Very few people in the e-commerce world leverage this powerfully, and from the very get-go in our own e-commerce business, which again is closing the gap on $200,000 a month in subscriptions, was from the very beginning modeled off of Sports Illustrated, not modeled off of internet marketers doing $10,000 a month or something very nominal like that, but looking at who's doing hundreds of millions of dollars annually and modeling what they're up to. So how do you apply that same idea to your own business? It's not as maybe self-evident as Sports Illustrated. Oh, well, they've got all the teams. That's an easy way to segment. My business isn't so easy. Here's how you can apply the same idea. Let's say, hypothetically, you run a business, and along the right-hand side here, we have blue text. This blue text is your hypothetical example business. Let's say that you teach online courses on paid advertising. Completely random example. It's an example I've used before, but we're just going to use this as the example of the business that you have. You teach online courses related to paid advertising. If you want to sell more subscriptions, let's say you have a membership site where people can learn paid advertising strategies from other experts, or you have a subscription to a monthly interview with a paid advertising expert, whatever your shtick is, okay, whatever your subscription or membership is, we're going to pretend as though you're in the paid advertising business for now. Of course, apply these same ideas to your business. The first step is going to be to poll your list to determine their most important goals or obstacles. I generally like goals as a default segmentation criteria. There's very little that's as powerful to know about people as knowing what it is that they are here to learn. So they came to your list for what reason? The answer to that question is a rather important answer, and in fact can dictate much of what you in fact teach them moving forward. So I'm going to mark this thing up as we move along so we're on numero uno. So once you know their actual goals, and you can use obstacles as well, okay, for some people that might be relevant, and it is a perfectly valid way of segmenting your list. We're going to go with goals for the sake of time here. When you segment people by their goals, you now know, what did you come to me for? So if you throw out an open-ended, the goal with this first poll, okay, to poll your list, the goal with this first poll is to make it open-ended. This should be not a multiple choice question. This should be an open-ended, type in your own answer type deal, okay? Type in your own answer. We don't want to assume that it's going to be one of these three things. We want to let them tell us what they came here for, okay? So hypothetically, let's say we take your list of 5,000 people who are interested in learning paid advertising, and we send them to an open-ended poll where they can give us one sentence on, what did you really come here to learn? What is your goal with paid advertising, and why are you here to learn from us? That's the question we ask them, okay? And let's say that in general, 85% of our answers fit into these three buckets. 1, direct sales via paid advertising. These are people that just want to sell something. They want to drive clicks to a page to make sales, period. Second category, we have people that want to use Facebook ads and Twitter ads and things like that to build their online presence. So they're interested in likes and followers and things along those lines. So maybe you've got a solid segment of your folks that are interested in that. Maybe you've also got another group of people that are interested in native advertising. Native advertising being sort of driving from paid advertising to content, and then having that content have a call to action for a purchase or a call to action for a lead gen or something like that. So this is more, again, driving to quality content that will be not interruptive, but contributive, educational, interesting, fun, and then will also at the same time have some kind of subtle call to action oftentimes. So maybe, and this is completely hypothetical, you got 5,000 people, you get, let's say, 80 respondents to your survey, and you notice that 85% or so of their responses fit into these three buckets, okay, hypothetically. Once that is the case, if you in fact if you can in fact glean that, and one way to glean that even further is by actually calling your buyers. There's nothing better than calling your buyers. So if you can figure out who's bought your products in the last week and call them, and then do the same thing the next week and the same thing the next week, and ask them to their face, what business are you in? Why did you come here to learn from us? What did you like about our course? Yada yada. You'll learn astronomically more than even this poll will tell you. But let's just say you've done the poll. Once you've done that, and we figured out the major buckets, we'll call them, that your people fit into, we're then going to use web forms to segment your list into the most relevant or common groups. And in this case, we've determined what those common groups are: direct sales, online presence, and native advertising. Done. So there's two ways that we can integrate forms. When I say a form, I do mean actually a multiple choice. So they'll put in their email, and then they'll pick one of three. Okay? You got 1, 2, 3. They can pick one of those three. So it's what is called a radio button, or kind of a multiple choice. But they can only pick one. It's not pick all three. You can't do that. You have to pick one. So the way that we will poll people like this is we can use this poll, or the way that we can segment people is we can, as they're opting in on your main site, if they want to become a lead, sign up for our free newsletter, sign up for our free ebook, sign up for our free consultation, whatever the case may be. We're going to make them enter email, but then also pick one of three. What this does is it ensures that everybody who enters your email list has already given you a very important data point about how to sell them. And it's not just how to sell them in that kind of selfish, like tapping our fingers together like Mr. Smithers and the Simpsons or something like that. They're also telling us what they're here to learn, why they came to you, and how they want you to benefit their life. And your ability to sell them is pretty darn well correlated to your ability to provide value for the benefit that they're interested in. So you can actually make your main opt-in forms on your main website include a pick one of three. Oftentimes, you will not see this drop your opt-in rate at all. We've seen a lift in 2%. We've seen a drop in 2%. The payoff in the back end, in terms of back end conversion, when we actually know their goals versus know nothing about them except for an email address, is very, very big. So I highly advise making that shift to have the drop down. Now, if you don't want to do that and you just have enter your email to join my email list, that's fine. Make the thank you page for that opt-in be the poll. Hey, now that you joined, let us know about what your main goal is, so we can help you with whatever your main business objective is. We have a lot of different expertise here. We want to send you what's most relevant to you. If you have that as a proper thank you page, you can get as much as 90% of people to also fill that in as well. They already have the momentum of entering their email. It's pretty easy to pick one of three. Very, very simple. So you can do a post opt-in. You can also do what's called a post-purchase web form. So what this essentially does is when someone buys one of your products, they go to your website, they purchase something. Instead of just getting the download right away, they go to a website where they have to have a, it's locked. I'm going to try to draw a lock. It's a very, very inadequate drawing of a lock, but bear with me. I didn't go to art school. So after they purchase, it says, great, access your product by simply filling out this customer intake form. And guess what the customer intake form asks them? It might ask them all kinds of questions. It might ask them for their shipping address and blah, 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 all this other information, but it will also ask them, which is your main business goal. So in order to get access to the product they purchased, and by the way, most people like to access what they just paid for, they have to pick one of three. They have to tell you their goal in order to get access to what they bought. What this means is that all the buyers in your system will be segmented by goal. The power that comes with knowing the goal, having real, rich, segmented data about your credit cards on file versus knowing nothing about them except that they bought something, is a very, very big difference in terms of how likely you are to sell them on the back end. So having a web form to get access to paid products, that's a post-purchase, and you can also do post-opt-in. After they opt in, ask them for their main goal right then. So either way, once you've determined your main buckets, which may be generally anywhere from 2 to 4. I really don't like to have 5 main buckets. I think this starts to get obnoxious. When you determine your main buckets, 2 to 4 main buckets, you can add those as web forms, post opt-in and post purchase. Now, once you've done that, you can then create products or offers to those most common segments. So you can create